Welcome back to another Saturday episode of Maximum Lawyer. And today we're going to be talking about how to use data to make smarter business decisions in your law firm. Before I get into all that, though, I just want to remind everyone to shoot me a text, 314-501-9260. We've had a lot of great suggestions. So if you have something you want me to cover on the show, I'm happy to do so as long as we can fit it in. As long as it's something we've not already covered, I'd love to cover it for you. So today I want to talk about data. I want to talk about how you can make some decisions with data, some things that you're going to want to look at. It is a really great way of making decisions. There's this quote by W. Edwards Deming: "In God we trust, all others must bring data." And it really it kind of emphasizes that, gut feelings, you can have gut feelings about things, but that's not really data. Otherwise, you're just sort of guessing. And although gut feelings, I guess, can sometimes be valuable, they're really not, it's not concrete evidence of everything. And I can't tell you how many times in my firm where uh, employees thought one thing and the data showed something completely different. And whenever a really recent example of that is when it comes to workers' compensation cases, and we started to really track how much time we were spending on them and how much money we were actually getting from them. And we were we were definitely sadly surprised by how little we make from workers' compensation versus how much time we put into them. So that's affected how we are handling compensation cases going forward. So it's a really great way of making business decisions for you by looking at the data and take the guesswork out of it. If you just look at Netflix by itself, so Netflix, what they have done, the reason why they've grown into a multi-billion-dollar company is they take data and they look at viewers' data and they use that to predict what they like, and they then use that to feed more shows and movies to them. And all of the major algorithms, that's what they're doing. And when it comes to all social media channels, YouTube, you name it, what they're doing is they're taking data and they're using that to then feed you more information so that you'll stay on their platforms. You can do something similar. Now, you're not going to be able to do that when it comes to like feeding them more information, but what you can do is you can do that to track different types of cases, different kinds marketing channels, your spend on the different marketing channels, different referral sources, and you can use that to lead to really come up with the best marketing campaigns for your firm. Oh, and another way you can do it is something we're doing when it comes to personal injury cases is really making sure that we're getting the best results for clients. That's another way of making sure it's not just about marketing. I know we talk about data with marketing quite a bit, and we talk about with revenue, but actually how you handle cases can really be affected if you implement data. There is an interesting McKinsey study that talks about data-driven organizations and how, and this is back to more back to the marketing part of it, but how they're 23 times more likely to acquire new clients if they're just data-driven, just by itself. And so, what that could mean for a law firm owner is if you are systematically tracking lead sources and the different ads that you're running. It's because could be beta testing different types of ads or client satisfaction scores. Lots of different things you can look at, and you can start to track these to then really fine tune it so that you start to bring in more cases. Or when it comes to client satisfaction, which is related to bringing in cases too, but increasing client satisfaction scores so you're doing a better job of helping your clients. You can definitely improve that, which then it'll lead to more referrals, more Google reviews, all of that. That way you can get more cases and really do a better job on cases. I'll give you a few different examples of some things you can track. So identifying the right metrics, more of some operational KPIs or numbers that you can focus on. Case life cycle time, that's a really important one when it comes to personal injury. It really is, for most practice areas, a really, really key number you want to look at. You want to figure out how long it takes from intake to actually case resolution and getting that out of the office. The more that case is in your office, the longer, the more the more it balloons your caseload, the more that your people have to spend time on it, and then ultimately the less you make per case. Another one is cost per lead. That's a more of a marketing one. Uh, we look at also the average case value is another one that we look at too, where those are both really key indicators. Cost per lead is we're really trying to see is how much are we spending for our marketing dollars, and then what we can do at the back end is compare the types of different types of cases to see if we're actually getting the value that we're expecting. So if I'm spending more on a lead, I would expect that that case would be worth more, and so we want to make sure we're profitable whenever we're targeting a different marketing channel. The average case value is really important to us because we can identify as to whether or not, are we undersettling cases, or did we try something different when it comes to our demands that then led to higher settlement values? There's a lot of different things that we can play around when it comes to the average case value. And then another one is client satisfaction scores. If you're not tracking these, you really need to. Another way of putting it is net promoter score. We actually will call our clients and get these scores over the phone. We don't use any sort of automated system, although that can be easily done. But the reason why we do it the way we do it is we want to get those scores, and we do it from someone that's not on their team. So one of the people on our cares team, they'll call, but we also want to be able to address it right away, as opposed to getting some automated number. And we want to actually ask the question, if they give us a 6, we want to figure out why they gave us a 6 and then try to address it right away. That way we can address it faster. Some financial KPIs. This is one that we don't talk enough about probably, and this is a realization rate where you're looking at your hours billed versus hours collected, and that's really important for those of you that bill hourly, family law firms, things like that, where you might be billing a certain amount, but then collecting it the other is the other part of it, and collecting might be the more important part of it. So that's something to look at. Your collection rate, so percentage of invoices that are actually paid, that's really, really important because you don't want that number to get too high. That means you're spending all the upfront money and then not getting paid, which is bad. And then profit margin. All right, looking at profit margins and then your amount of profit. That's a really important number, because if you're looking at, a lot of people look at revenue, which I've talked about all the time, is an ego number. Let's say you decide to go into some new niche, or you start to create some sort of marketing campaign where you're spending a bunch of extra money. If your revenue goes up, but you're actually making less money, that's a problem. That's why tracking your profit margin is really, really important. So make sure you're using the right tools to track this stuff. You can even use just basic spreadsheet tools with a combination of, Zapier or, any of the other automation type of platforms. You can go really simple like that, or you can go really more advanced with any of the CRMs. We use Zoho Analytics. Zoho Analytics is amazing. It's really great. It works obviously well with Zoho, but it integrates with other platforms. There's many marketing analytics platforms out there that you can track with it. You can throw a dartboard and hit 100 at this point, especially with AI as exploding like it is. So using some sort of analytics platform is really, really important. Uh, Another example of how you could use this data too is, we're talking about their A/B testing. They run constant experiments about on different product listings to see what's best, and based on different website design, different lots of different factors. What you can do, and this is something I didn't bring up earlier, but when it comes to testing different marketing messages or intake processes or you name it, you can do a lot of different A/B testing. If you have multiple teams, especially, you can have one team do one thing, another team do another thing, and this will allow you to test it. So you're using these different tools to track it, and then using A/B testing, you can see which one's more effective, and then go from there. So that's really, really good. But taking the data is not everything, right? Getting the data is probably the easy part of this. The next part of it's really just is interpreting it. So you have to take whatever piece of data that you're taking. So let's just kind of focus on, one thing at a time. So pick your one thing. So I'll just use average case value, and then kind of figure out, all right, what is the question that we need to focus on here? So, I'll use an example of which marketing channel yields the best average case value. Okay. Where you take, and now you've tailored, all right, we use Facebook, we're using Instagram, we're using referral marketing, all that. Okay. Which of those is leading to the highest average case value? You kind of figure that out. You collect all the data, right? You collect all the data. You then take a look at it and see which one's leading to the highest average case value. You then make adjustments and you put more money into that marketing channel. That's a really simple way of doing it. And without that data, there's no way I would know that I need to put more money into a certain marketing channel. Now, you can also, as you're tracking this, figure out that there's only so much you can actually spend in that marketing channel, and then you start to stop receiving a return on investment after a certain point too. So that's something that is you have to keep an eye on too. Some common pitfalls to look out for is just data overload. Many people try to track too many things. I would start with like no more than 3. Pick 1 or 2 though. That's gonna be optimal. Start with those and then move on to the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing. You don't wanna have too much data. That's just as bad as having no data. Another thing is incorrect data. So make sure that you are consistently getting the data, that preferably you're not having to have it done by data entry, manually data entry, because duplicate entry is also a big problem with that. So you want to make sure that if you can automate it, where the data is not entered in by a human being. That's another one too. And then another common one is that you're getting so much data that you have this like paralysis analysis where you're looking at all of it and you're overthinking a lot of it. That's why focusing on 1 or 2 at a time is really best. But hopefully this gives you a few ideas on what you should be tracking, what you shouldn't be tracking, how to really kind of make this simple. But starting with 1 thing at a time, maybe 2, where you just kind of you tweak and you tweak and you tweak, you'll really fine tune your firm to being a well-oiled machine. Before I do wrap up, though, I want to make sure that shoot me a text. I'd love to hear from you. 314-501-9260. The number's in the show notes. Make sure that you save it to your phone. That way it's easier to text, and we'll get it recorded as soon as we can. Until next week, remember that consistent action is the blueprint that turns your goals into reality. Take care.